on it.
Yeah, yeah. All right. You could go. You've got the floor. Just let it rip.
Okay. I take it. People are here, right? There people in the room already.
They'll come in. It's just they'll come in as they see the icon, so you can just like roll with it because this
Okay.
is recorded, and I'll just let it. I'll let it process, and then I'll upload it again tonight. Well, I'll set it free tonight because they do all the heavy lifting behind the scenes.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I want to start this off when I was in Nicaragua,
All right.
and reason why is because I noticed something that happened there. You would have couples or young adults that weren't in a hurry to leave their mom's house,
Okay.
and you would see these bricks stacked on side of the house.
Come in.
And I remember asking a guy, said, "What are those bricks?" He said, "Every time we get paid, we buy bricks and we put them on the side of the house, and we know the exact number of bricks we need to build a house. So when we get that number, that's when we build our house."
Okay.
And what I think is what happens is in America, for instance, when people graduate from high school, they have two choices.
All
Well,
right.
actually, about three choices. One, they choose to go to the military. Another choice is I'm going to work right away. Another choice is I'm going to go to college and pursue a career or whatever, and then go from there. But the ones that go to college, it's funny how they actually come up with a degree. I remember I used to sell on college campuses, and I did it as a joke. When I would ask this question, I would ask them, I said, "What is your major?" And a lot of them would say, "Undecided." And then the ones that actually did know, like let's say it was business. So then I
Okay.
asked them the question. I said, "Well, what business are you going to open?" And then they were like, "Well, I don't know. I don't know if I'm going to open a business. I may get a job." So it's like they have no direction whatsoever in this phase in their life of where they're going. You know, sometimes they may be able to find an article that pops up on Yahoo to say the top 10 jobs in America, right? And then they choose to pick one of those jobs, but nobody picks their passion. Nobody goes after what they like. I'm gonna stop there and open the floor to you because I know you
Well,
have
no,
probably
no,
some
you go
input in
ahead
there.
because what I'm doing is I'm inviting people in
Okay.
because of the snafus and the craziness that goes on with Google Hangouts when you do live events. See, this is one of the things. It almost takes two or three people to work it because typically Google has like I have a lot of people follow me on Google Plus. So when I like do something, I can't invite everybody, and if I don't hit
Yeah.
the right button, then it's just chaos. So I'm going to invite the group. I'm going to put it on the regular page, and you can just roll because you said you had a fire. I could tell you were just chomping at the bit. You were ready.
Well, yeah. I mean, and what it is, they'll see these articles and they'll be like, "Well, a computer programmer makes so much money." And I remember
Right.
my first major in school was computer science, and I only picked it because I'm a verbal guy. I need to talk to people. I'm not the cubicle guy. And I was taking C++ programming, and I looked at the guys that were in the group with me, and they were all socially challenged, and I'm like, I can't see myself doing this, but I only picked it because I saw an article. They were hiring. I was in Washington State at the time. Microsoft was there, Intel was there, and they were hiring a lot of people in that industry. So I figured, like, hey, let me jump on board and get a job, you know. But we're not taught in this country to go after our passion. We're told that if we go after our passion, somehow that's chasing dreams that don't end up with money. You end up to be this hippie that sells necklaces on Venice Beach or something, whatever. It's whether it's music, whether it's art. Our parents are programmed to beat it out of us. Get you a real good job. And then
Right.
you go into this place where you start meeting people at this job, and then you're shoved in an environment. Sometimes most people meet their husband, the Christmas parties, and they meet their friends there. So now you get these friends that you didn't screen before they came in your life. Now they're in your life. Now you get this mate because it was comfortable when you were at the job, and that's just, she looked good at the water cooler, and you went over and talked to her, and you guys had coffee, and next thing you know, you're dating and you're married. Well, not married, well, dating, and she gets pregnant. Then usually you get married after that. So you just start you start life off basically getting things thrown at you, because there was one part I missed, when you're in college, that little table where they have the guy with the Visa shirt over there, and he's saying, hey, get you a credit card. And a lot of people stop at that table because they're broke in college, and they get that freaking credit card, and they rack up debt while they're in college. So fast forward, and I'll get to the high school people in a minute. They get out of, they major in a degree because their friends majored in it, or they saw an article, or they thought it made a lot of money, but never choosing, this is something that I like doing. I wake up in the morning and this is all I think about. When I was a kid, they told me I was great at this thing. Nobody's picking that one. So then they just start the family. And when they start the family, they want to get out of the mom's house. So they're married, they have a kid, then you get this house. And then when you get the house, you gotta, there's this neighbor that's going to bring over cookies. And a lot of times they're probably the same age as you or whatever, around the same age. And then they have a certain type of vehicle in their driveway. And then all of a sudden the competing starts, and you have a car payment, and then the wife has to have a car payment, and the baby's there. And then they still have leftover student loan debt. And they're just starting life with a mountain, climbing the mountain. And when you're in this situation, it's not great, because if somebody came to you and said, hey, you need to pursue your passion, you can't. Well, this mountain that's already above you, and you're starting life, usually you start life with nothing, but you're starting life with debt, with a house payment, with car payments. And I read a statistic before we actually started this, and I'm gonna be honest, I actually thought this number was a lot lower. I'm gonna ask you, Glendon, what percentage of Americans do you believe live paycheck to paycheck?
About 75%, maybe 80.
Man, you were off by one number. 76% of people are getting a paycheck and then going to their bank account with less than $100 in the bank account, but yet they're going out, they're putting things on credit card, because you got to get your points for the miles. You got to get your miles. I guess that's what you get.
Just to let you know, I'm also doing Periscope, because everybody's loving Periscope. So we got some people there who are coming on.
Yeah. So basically, this is what you're carrying. And these are the same people who now woke up one day and were like, you know what? Because there's another statistic of 70% of Americans hate their job. They hate, and I'm laying out the problem first.
Okay.
So they hate their job.
Oh, hold on 1 second.
Yeah.
Someone was talking about this is a bad camera. What I have is my iPhone videotaping a Google Hangout. If you want to go to my YouTube channel, you can watch it live, crisp and clean. Just letting you know, because this is just something new I'm doing. All right, go ahead. I was just letting the people know what was going around.
Yeah, no problem. But yeah, so 70% of people hate their job.
Okay.
So then once they realize they hate their job, and we already talked about why they hate it, because a lot of times they chose something that they didn't like. They just wanted to start getting some money in so they can pay these bills that they have, right? So then they say, well, I'm smarter than my boss. I want to go ahead and start my own business. Now, some people, go down this road the right way, which is what we're going to talk about. But then some people say, you know what? I hate my job, honey. I'm getting physically sick. I just want to quit. So then they quit their job, and now they have to worry about eating and
Right.
trying to find their passion at the same time. So it's basically all wrong. And today, I want to talk about some steps that I think um, one should try to use in order to escape the job the correct way.
Okay.
Right. So, and I want to ask you a question, Glenn. And if you got to do something, just you can respond later.
Well, no, go ahead, because I'm playing around with Periscope, but I can multitask. I'm used to doing this stuff.
Yeah. What we actually talked about this number actually one day on a phone call. How much do you think let's say a family with no kids, just a
Okay.
husband and wife, how much do you think comfortably? It depends, and this all depends on where they are. Is a comfortable number that a couple can live off of per month?
Now, that's a really hard question because I was going to answer it my way. Then I'm going to answer it the regular person's way. The regular person would probably need 4 to 6,000, but I would need less because the car's paid off, don't have a lot of bills. If you don't have a lot of bills, you can do a lot on $1,800 to $2,300 a month. But when you have a $400 car payment, you're paying $1,200 rent or mortgage, and you got credit cards. Oh, don't forget student loans. Then you need that 4 or 5 because, and then taxes. But I mean, it just really depends upon what they've got paid off and what they're working on.
Okay. Now, I know you've been in business. Well, let me ask you this question. How long has it been since you actually have been at a job?
2000.
2000. For me, 15 years. Actually, you know what? That's almost my same year because it's about coming upon 15 years for me.
Right.
So that is a big problem. So let me just spend some time there. The $4,000 to $6,000 a month. Now, to me, on what I live on, because I don't have any bills.
Okay.
So I live around $1,500, $1,600 a month, and sometimes that's too much. But my lifestyle is being that I don't have jobs. I hyper focus on my business, and I'm at home a lot.
Okay.
I have food in front of me, so I don't go out and eat every day. My car is paid off outside. I don't have any credit cards. The only bill I have, and I don't even know why we have that, is cable, but my internet's hooked up to that. So nothing really is leaving the house. Now, that right there, I think, is one of the first things one of the second things a person should do in order to escape their job. They have to get their debt under control.
Yeah, get that burn rate down. You can't do anything when more money, when you have so much money is going to serve as debt is ridiculous.
And it is, Dave Ramsey has his baby steps. He says that, and this is common sense right here. Do you have an emergency fund, Glenda?
Yes, I have an FU. I call it my FU fund. Yes, I do.
Why do you have an FU fund?
As a business owner, you cannot afford to live paycheck to paycheck. Somebody may not pay you. A check may bounce from a client. There is no way that you could sleep if you didn't have, like give you an example. If I stop making money today, I can live the rest of the year.
Yeah.
And it's just, I've been in that situation where I was living paycheck to paycheck. And I know when you get a business and you have employees, you can't do that because people will revolt and they will sue you. They will come after you. So you've got to have a cushion. You clearly have to have a cushion because it's a little different because when you first start your business, it's hard to go a month or two and not get a check. And that's what can happen as you're building your stuff. But in time, you learn that you got to, what I used to call a thirds. 33 and a third for taxes, 33 and a third to live on, and 33 and a third had to go in the savings account.
Yeah. Then
I got to one point where I was doing 50%. And that's when I got in the stock market, and that's when I learned a lot of lessons. I got out of there.
Yeah. I think sometimes a coach and a realtor should also be a part-time financial advisor because I always wondered, like when these coaches get hired at these colleges and they're only there for 3 years and they get fired,
Right.
and they had great salaries, but they know going in, my career may only be 3-4 years long, and then there may be a big period in my life where I don't get any money, and then now the money that I made, I have to live off of that until I find more employment, because sometimes they don't find employment right away, you know.
True.
And same with the real estate agent. If you don't sell any houses, you don't make any money.
True.
You know, so they had to learn, if they have done this, that you can't live off, if you make a $4 million a year salary, that you can't live off of $4 million a year, even though you don't take out the taxes. But you can't live off. That doesn't mean that, oh, I have $1 million or more to spend per year. So the thing is, it's common sense. It's your grandma's advice. You got to live below your means. You got to get that spending under control. I put it to you like this. If I spent $4,000 to $6,000 a month, I would be half dead. I probably would have to, that must be a cocaine freaking habit, drinking habit. I'm eating caviar every day, 3 times a day, because I mean, I just can't imagine living off of $4,000-$6,000 a year. And I mean, maybe in New York, if you paying rent or something like that, maybe, but still there. I just can't even imagine $4,000 to $6,000 a year. So I have this thing where I call like the Freedom Fund, and I'm putting this in the course where whatever it costs you to live per year, and you tell me if you agree with this, Glendon, times 12. Before you can even think about giving that 2 weeks in, you need to have at least that in a bank account.
Clearly, if you're going to start a business, if not more.
Yeah. So that's one thing that has to happen. And that's the cushion. But what I would like to happen is your business has to work. I mean, a lot of people want to start business, but they don't know how to run a business. Like, for instance, you're in business by yourself, and I called your answer machine today. Now, on your answer machine, it says, if you want to make an appointment, make an email with, I think her name was Amy.
Right, my assistant.
You can't do it all in your business. You can't be the shipper, the salesman, the marketer, the webmaster, create content. A lot of times you're going to need help. And this could be overwhelming for people, because if you left your job today and you're no longer getting paychecks in and your business is making $0, first you have to be comfortable with not bringing any money in whatsoever. And then you have to realize how a business works. Like, what service are you going to offer? What product are you going to get into? Is it a niche that's like, I don't know. I'm trying to think of a service or something, Oh, I know a service. So when I was in Minneapolis and I was on the freeway and I saw these trucks, they're basically, it was a $5 delivery fee.
Okay.
And they would deliver your groceries to you. So you can order your things off of line, everything you want, and deliver your groceries to you for $5. But then I started wondering, like, how are they making money? But they probably are multiplying that times so many customers, blah, blah, blah.
Right.
And I guess it makes sense. And maybe they have some hidden costs in the groceries too. But you have to have a service that's working. So if your business isn't working while you're doing your business, if your business isn't working while you're doing your job, you probably want to get that taken care of first. What are your thoughts right there?
What I'm advising people to do is to start part-time and go hard as they can, because let's say you have the money, say you got 2-3 years of money in the bank. What I'm finding out from my consultant and the courses and stuff I have, that it takes people 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 months just to get acquainted with being a business owner. So you've got this, it's an intellectual capital thing more than it's a fiscal capital thing. Mm-hmm.
It is. So I'm going to ask you something because this can kind of be a up live and personal with the behind the scenes in business. Now, I put business on the level of college. You know how in high school your teacher gives you work and
Right.
she says this has to be turned in on Monday. To me, that's an employee. They tell you exactly what to do. But when you go to college, the professor says you have a paper due. You don't necessarily have to turn that paper in. It's up to you to do that.
True.
So when you wake up in the morning and you've been off for 14 years, I'm sure you have a routine of things that you do per day to keep your business afloat.
Oh yeah, I've got my morning ritual. I've got my night ritual. Matter of fact, since I just finished building out 2 platforms, I went back to my original plan, which was get up in the morning, drink, maybe 3 or 4 glasses of water, then look at my emails, then go to the gym. Because it had been completely, because you got to have structure and you have to have some type of system. And many people don't believe in that. They just think that they can wake up and do what they need to do and it's going to go right, but it's inefficient. And that's why they're having problems. A lot of problems, because I hired an assistant last year, but I managed to get many things done because I had systems. Like, I give you one, the video thing. I make videos with my phone when I'm going to the gym. I make videos with you using these Google Hangouts because it cuts out the processing. Because when you make a video, then you download it into your computer, then you have to process it. By doing the Google Hangout videos, I save myself 2 to 3 hours of work on the video.
Yeah.
So
Totally.
you got to have these processes in place.
And it's so important about that system. I remember when I first started the business, which I started the wrong way, which is hopefully what the course would teach you, is that I remember I would just walk around, wake up when I want, and then sometimes at the end of the night, I would ask myself, what the heck did I do today? You know? And if you ask yourself that question and the word nothing comes back, you have to develop somewhat of a strategy. So it's better to develop somewhat of that strategy while you're working at your job.
True.
Now, I don't know if you get this question a lot, Glendon, and I want to hear your view on this. A lot of people ask me this question. They say, I want to leave my job.
I get it all the time.
And I'm like, okay, you want to leave your job. Why? And they say, I'm angry. It's not the job for me. And they want to leave their job and they just want to start the hustle. Now, do you think that is a wise thing?
No. I think it's a recipe for disaster, because typically when someone's had a job for a long time, they don't know how to run a business. It's not to say they can't learn, but they don't know, and they've got that learning curve. And the last thing you need to be doing is learning how to run your business when you just quit your job and you don't have money coming in. It's a very stressful situation.
And a lot of people, one guy sent me a video. Steve Harvey has this video out where he said that he quit his job and he said, you got to go all in. I think he's backstage or something. You got to go all in, quit your job. If you want to pursue your goal, do it. But I said, Steve Harvey's situation is a little bit different than most. Steve Harvey knew what his gift was, and then he pursued it. He was actually already doing his gift, where you're trying to, because here's the 2 things. You have some people that just want to start a business. And I ask, well, why? Why do you want to start a business? Because my boss is an idiot. He doesn't know what he's doing, and I think I can do much better. But then I ask myself the question, okay, are you doing this business because you want to make more money? Are you just want to make money? Or are you doing this business because you actually love it? Because I've been in that situation where someone else is selling a product and I'll say, oh, I can do better than that person. I'm going to sell that product. And before you know it, a month goes by and I'm already done with that product because I lost the steam, the passion, everything, because it wasn't what I was put on earth to do. I did it for the wrong reason. My intentions were wrong. You have anything to put there?
typically, to learn what you need to do, you have to do a lot of things you don't want to do. Many people don't have what I call the deep introspection to figure out what their thing is. They need help. I mean, I was walking around, joined the book club. I was like 20 something, 27, 28. And I've always loved books. And then the writing thing came after I just saw how people respond in the book club to some of these authors we brought in. I say, I want to do that. But up until that point, that wasn't on my radar. That wasn't something that I was planning on doing. Mm-hmm. So it takes experimentation, because a young lady, she commented on the video that when I was talking about what you should do, like you shouldn't get married, like between 16 and 24. Don't get married. Don't hub up. Don't wife up. Don't have kids. Don't have kids. And at least try to put your feet on 3 continents before you're 24. Go somewhere. Do some stuff. And typically, she was just mad because no one had told her that. She was just ready to. I mean, she was angry, literally angry. I had to calm her down. Because
no, keep going. I'm sorry.
Well, no, those experiences give you things, because I reunited with an old Army buddy today because I saw him on television, and we were on the phone because, like, when you called, that's who I was on the phone with. And I just remember all of that stuff that I learned being 19, living in Hawaii, going through the Pacific Rim, going to Korea, living in Japan, going to Thailand. All of this stuff that happened was pivotal in my development, because I was still at that age where my mind was wide open. You try to do what I did at 18, at 38, you can still do it, but you're not going to be as free. You're just not. You're just not.
You know that's so funny about sacrifice and doing things that you don't necessarily want to do. I remember being on the Vans Warped Tour on this sweaty bus with these musicians, and I bought a seat. And these guys, when they say sex, drugs, and rock and roll is a real thing, it's a real thing. And I was smushed in that little thing for 2.5 months, going these different places, and I was doing my selling. But the whole time, it wasn't something that I necessarily wanted to do. I knew I loved business, but it didn't just jump out at me of what type of business that I wanted to do. So I used to think I wasted my time, but I'm glad you just said that, because I didn't know this until about maybe a year ago. It actually settled in that Abdul, all those experiences that you went through, the China thing and going to Nepal and doing business with those guys, those things help build you to the person that you need to walk out and become now. They weren't wasted times. They were just things. There were stripes. There were ribbons.
It was grooming you as a person, because I had this conversation with a client who felt, because they spent so much time on this thing that didn't work out, and it was just like I wasted time, because everyone's in a hurry to get to success, but success is the grooming period, because what they think is success is the result of success. Success is it's 3 o'clock in the morning, it's just you and you're working. That's success. Success isn't the car, the house, or the other stuff. And that's where people go wrong, because people feel that if they don't get it right immediately, they're wasting time. It cracks me up, because I used to spend, you put this video up of the guy who was a master penman. I used to, now this was so funny. I have very unique handwriting. I used to spend hours working on my handwriting. And even to this day, I'll write something and just like, oh my God, is that calligraphy? I spent hours doing that as a kid, and it's been decades of benefit from putting in that time. Decades. I mean, I've gotten contracts because of the way that I write. Because someone's like, really? Oh, that's really nice. What do you do? Oh, I'm a consultant. Oh, what kind of consultant? Boom.
So you're an artist too. You do can you draw anything?
I used to. I haven't gotten back to it, but I see myself getting there, because that's the whole thing. It's just, I like what I do so much that I was doing it too hard, and now that I'm kind of backing back, because the reason for all of the changes and stuff was I have a certain direction that I'm going in, and that's going to facilitate that, because You have to work really, really hard in the beginning. But if you build it right, then you can get at that point where you're not working that hard and you're making more money than when you were damn near killing yourself. It's just about building it right.
And you know, it's so funny with business. Sometimes I think if I'll say in a man's point of view, if a man wants to get some hair in his chest, start a business, because a lot of times,
yes, it will. The hair in the woman's chest too.
Yeah, I mean, I was trying to think of something that related to women growing, but I couldn't think of anything.
He'll get hair too.
Yeah, but no, it's silent sometimes in business, because one thing about business is your boss is pretty much the customer, and you can't make customers buy. Nope. Customers buy when they want, and you can get mad and angry and whatever and all these things. And this is why I always say that it's good to have money when you're a business, because I can always tell when I'm talking to a desperate salesperson, who's somebody who needs to close that sale right now. And if you don't do it,
feel the desperation. You can feel the sweat.
You know, but the best selling to me is not selling at all. You know, give the people what they need, present it to them, and present the opportunity to them, and then let them make the decision. You know, I'm not that pushy person. But something I wanted to talk about too, and it's funny, I had a conference call with my mastermind students, and one of them said something that was interesting. I want to do another business, but I don't have the money to do another business. And that's the thing. A lot of times with these people who have these $4,000 to $6,000 a month lifestyles and living paycheck to paycheck, there will be opportunities that will come to your life, whether that's investing in a stock, a guy come to you with an idea or whatever, and you can't take that opportunity because you don't have any money. You don't have anything set to the side to make things like that happen. And they're not going to come all the time, you know, so you have to be ready, you know, to pull the trigger if something does come your way, you know. But what do you have to say about that?
Well, that's why I created Disruptive Money, because I had some really good mentors. But when you become an entrepreneur and you don't have that fellowship of other entrepreneurs or seasoned entrepreneurs who don't tell you certain things. I had one guy, and his name was Jim, and I had my first check. And you know, when you get that first deal and you squeezing onto that check and you making love to that check, and he said, you need to put half of that check away.
Yep.
You need to, because you don't have an LLC. You need to form an LLC. Well, you say you need to form an S corp. Then you need to form an LLC through that. Then do this and this and this and this and this. And he sat down with me and he explained to me what was going to happen if I didn't do that. He said, if you do the regular LLC and when you pay your taxes, they're going to knock you across the head with a 55% 20% self-employment tax, 35% regular tax, and you don't have the money, you got problems.
Yep.
So I created Disruptive Money for that, because nobody tells people, that's fine. No one tells people that I don't care if you're making 10 million a year, you still need a budget. And I know some people like, if I was making 10 million a year, I don't need a budget. Yes, you do. Because what's going to happen is your spending habits are going to keep escalating. Yeah. You're going to be like, I don't know if you saw that skit with Dave Chappelle, Cribs. You're just going to say, well, I got 10 million.
I clicked on it this morning with the dinosaur.
Yeah, I mean, that's what happens. It's like, well, you know, I don't mess with this because that's not balling. You know, I'm got these $4 million T-Rex eggs because that's balling. I've got friends who are rich. I mean, like legitimately rich. And there's one side, every one of them has nice stuff. That's just going to happen. But the ones who are not, how can I explain it? There's some who will just spend money on anything just because they can. Mm-hmm. And this is something else, because I got some people who laugh at me because I buy stuff on sale.
Yeah.
You know, yeah, I got a BMW and then I had the X5, but that salesman hated me at the dealership. I shopped 6 months to get it, and I got it 7,000 under what they were going. So, you know, if you see me in a Bentley, understand it was a screaming deal. It was a screaming deal, a real deal. And that's how I shop, because I was out with someone's mother, and she was just amazed at how I could shop. She was like, "How do you know this?" It's like, I'm adult. I live. I have to shop. And just a lot of people just don't get these lessons with money, shopping, and granted, I had the benefit of being in the storage auction business where I shopped every day for the business. Every day I had to make a decision: was this a good buy for the business? So that just carried over into my personal life.
Man, you just said a mouthful. This is something that I don't think a lot of people focus on, Glendon. I think a big reason why all these people are buying all these materialistic things, and you see people with Bentleys on their page and all this other kind of stuff, a lot of that comes from low self-esteem. Trying to be something they're not. Because I mean, like a lot, they say, "Oh, why would a man want a Bentley?" And I'm not saying a man can't get a Bentley or whatever, but if that's your main goal and you don't have any money under that, it's a weak foundation. Like the NBA players, these guys are out there making this money, and they don't realize that money's going to end one day. It's going to be gone. So they don't build that strong foundation of maybe living in $100,000 house. I think there was a guy you put up there. I think he was living off of $60,000 a year.
Yeah, he's a player. He's got a $3.6 million contract, and he's living on $60,000 a year because he knows he's not playing forever. So they're doing something with the bulk of his income. Because I was wondering when that was going to happen, because when you're making, and let's just go to league minimum. Let's not even go to the quarterback money. League minimum for a player second year in the NFL is $500,000 plus. Plus there's incentives. Plus, if they get to the playoffs, that's extra money. That's above contract money. So if a guy's with a halfway decent team, he's going to do $650,000.
Totally.
Which is twice. Now, to get into the 1%, you only have to be making $320 to get into the top 1% of income in the United States. The world, mm-hmm. $320. So they're making almost double the top. I mean, they're in the top 5%. The top 0.5% at that level.
Yeah.
And even with taxes, even with an agent, they still have 6 figures left over every year. Oh, and they don't work all year long. No. There's at least 3 to 4 months off. So they go out and spend all their money, because even like just sticking with league minimum, mm-hmm. they have the ability to pay cash for a house their first year playing.
Yep.
And still live very well on the remainder, pay their taxes, pay the agent, but that's not the thought process. Mm-hmm. Because let's just say, let's take, guy goes to a team, plays 2 years, he gets traded. If he bought a house and paid cash everywhere he went, and say he managed to say 6 years in the NFL, so that's like 6 houses paid off, he doesn't have to work anymore ever again in his life.
That's true.
And that's league minimum. That's not the guys. That's not the 7-figure contract. That's the 6-figure contract.
Yeah,
that's the 6-figure contract. So typically, you make $1 million in a year, and say you make $1 million, and you don't pay tax, and that's after you pay taxes.
Yeah,
that's life-changing money.
It is. And no, finish your thought. I'm sorry.
Well, no, I mean, it's just life-changing money. That's why I always crack up when people like, "Oh, the lottery ain't big enough. I need me 80 million. That 20 million, I couldn't live on that 20 million." I was like, you ain't gonna make 20 million your whole life. What are you talking about?
And that's why I say I think one of the best books ever written was The Millionaire Next Door. And I actually work out with a lady in the mornings. Her brother plays in the NBA for Cleveland, and the family is just simple.
Okay.
I mean, and that's another thing too. South Dakota is known for the frugal lifestyle, and it's full of millionaires. But these people have very simple lifestyles. Living in if you have a good chunk of money, why not pay your house off? Why not get that out? Because that's probably one of the most expensive investments you have.
True.
Why not get that out of the way? So when the money comes in per month, you can save a majority of that. So a lot of people thinking the now I want the Bentley. Now I want these things. And they don't really focus on the future. As far as I just want to leave my family with money. I want to change my generation. That's not a lot of the thinking. If you go to some of these third world countries, I remember when I was in Nicaragua, some of the highest paid people that working jobs were making $600 a month. You go to China, right out of college, a good Fortune 500 company, or a Tide or whatever, Procter and Gamble, they're paying these guys $500 a month, and these people are fighting over these jobs.
Well, places like the Philippines, $600 to $800 a month is upper middle class income.
Yep, totally.
That's upper middle class income. That's not middle. That's upper middle class, because you got people who are living on $200, $250 a month US.
Yeah, but so funny. It's funny, like, because I always said when I was in Nicaragua, I said, man, I have to hang with prime ministers or something, because I remember I had some food and I invited some of the Nicaraguans to my house, and they came in there, and we were going out to a party, and I said, let me go freshen up. And I came back, all my stuff was gone, food gone, everything. And I'm like, I just ate all my stuff up. But then I figured it out. They couldn't afford to do certain things with their money, because the type of money they make, they can't just go out to a restaurant. That's like out of their world. So if somebody invites them, they're just going to go crazy. So then I literally had to hang with people who were close to being six figures of millionaires, so that I could just not have to pay for everybody sitting there. But that's the thing, man. Like, if you're making $5,000 a month, taxes taken out, maybe your quality of life should be, your cost of living should be around $2,000 a month. Put the $3,000 in the bank. You can live off of that. You don't need to be. What do you think?
I think it really depends on people, because if you think about it, I'll give you an example, like my upbringing.
Yeah.
My grandmother was good with money. My mother, not so good with money. And even as a child, some of the stuff that I saw her do, I was just like, that's not really good. And you have many people who will see their parents doing really crazy stuff, but because of their parents, they'll just go ahead and mimic that behavior. You have to work very hard to not become your parents. You could say, dad was an alcoholic, mom was this. If you do not work on yourself with personal development, you will become those people, because you spend decades around them. And when you're little, you're around them all the time. It's going to seep in. It's going to seep in. So they don't get those lessons. You can't teach a kid to be accountable if you as an adult are not accountable. It's just not going to happen.
And as we're talking about it, it's just so sad, because it's like people don't have a blueprint. This is the blueprint to success. Live with your parents. Save at least $10,000 before you move out. Buy you a small home. For God's sake, they're buying homes now. You can buy a $15,000, $20,000 home, fix it up, and you have somewhere to stay. That's your first home. Flip it, later on, let the value go up, and take that money and put it toward another home. Move that way. Go to an auction. And freaking, I'm always cool with the foreigners, because a lot of those guys go to auctions and they buy these rental vehicles. If you get a rental vehicle and it's wrecked, they will buy these cars at auctions, and a lot of these are just damage, not engine damage or anything like that. And they have a body shop, and they'll fix the car up and sell it to you. And that's where I go buy my cars, and I go in cash money.
I will tell you what one of my neighbors was doing when I had the warehouse. He was a Russian guy. He would buy any car wrecked, whatever, fix it, and put it in a container and ship that sucker to Russia.
And probably get triple the money.
He was telling me he had a container going to South America to a friend, and it was full of BMWs, older models, and he said they were going to get 30, 40,000. I was like, 30, 40, that would buy a new one. He said, not where they are. He also told me that in Hong Kong, if a Ferrari is 350,000 here due to the taxes and tariffs, that car is 750 in Hong Kong. So when you see someone in a Bentley or a Ferrari in Hong Kong, they are really rich. You can't fake it. You can't fake it.
And it's the government getting over on those taxes. When they bring those cars in, those import taxes are ridiculous.
Israel's the same way. I got clients in Israel, and I mean, they were telling me about a stroller that's about $600 here. Over in Israel, it was $2,000, same stroller.
Wow.
And that's why, you know, when I hear people say America's this, America that, I know you have no exposure because we have issues, but for the most part, it's pretty good here compared to a lot of places. And
that's what I'm saying. So when I see an American that's broke, I'm like, how?
I can explain that. No one told them not to be broke. No one. And like, take Asians, Japanese, especially Chinese are coming. Japanese believe in holding on to money. Even a regular run-of-the-mill Japanese person is going to have a few 6-7 figures saved. They believe in holding money. And this is something else. I used to date this Korean girl. One of the things in the Korean parenting deal is the mother and father buy the children houses. Because I was dating her and she was like, well, you know, my house is paid off. And I'm like, you don't make that much money. Then she was just, oh, my mother bought it for me. She bought my brother one too. So that's one of the reasons that they stay so strong is they get legacy and inheritance. Because whenever I talk to my friends, because, you know, I got this whole plan for my kids and they're just like, you can't give them that kind of money. And I was like, see, that's why black folks are behind with that attitude because everyone else is giving their kids money.
Yeah. But then also in the other cultures too, like I knew a family in Omaha from Nepal. It was like 7 people living in the house.
Well, they work together.
Yeah.
I mean,
knowing what I know now, if I had to do it all over again, I would move in with somebody because you gotta go through that sacrifice first phase before you start living crazy. Because they say it takes 10 years for a beginning couple to acquire what it took their parents to achieve acquire in 30 to 40 years.
Yeah, I will give you something that I have instituted with 2 friends who have listened to me who make good income but regular income. You know, they're not making 6 figures. And the whole deal is live on one income. You got 2 incomes, live on one. And you know, I brought this to a lot of people, and they're like, "I'm not doing that. I can't do that. We got to do this." Well, I learned this when I was in the military from this retiree who came in. He did his time in the military, and then he got out and he became a teacher. Well, he was getting his retirement check, and he was working. And his wife was working, and this is like when I don't think neither one of them made over 20 grand a year. That's how long ago it was. But they every year they took one salary and bought a house and paid cash for it.
Oh yeah,
every year. And he said when they got up to, he said it really started to kick in when they got to the 4th house. They had 4 houses that was paid for.
Yep.
And then they kept going and going. And I think he said they had a portfolio of about 25 houses. And, you know, he's like, well, you know, now we got kids. We gave the kid a house and we did. And I'm just listening to this. And this gentleman, you know, from Southwest Atlanta. Oh, you know, he was one of those very diplomatic people. And I was just sitting there like, just my mind blown. Because, you know, here I am, an E4 in the military. I get my money. I'm sending money home. I pay my bills. And I'm broke. And I'm just sitting there like, I couldn't conceive buying a house every year. And this was in the 80s. So they were doing this in the 70s. They were doing this in the 60s and the 70s. But see, they were what a lot of married people aren't. They were a team. Many married people are not teams today. It's just 2 individuals living in the same house.
I mean, a lot of married people actually have separate bank accounts. You know, and they don't know what the other person has in the bank account. Now, I'm not. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. I'm not a fan of that one.
Well, you're gonna be married, because the thing is, you got to understand what you're dealing with. And like, I kind of see where this is going, because what I wanted to do is break this up, because I didn't discuss that with you, because we're running up on maybe the hour limit. Okay. And I've done it before, you know, the 3, 4, 5 hour hangouts. People don't watch all those. So yeah, what we can do is we'll come back and we'll just announce it, and then we'll come out with the second part.
Okay, there you go.
All right, so I'm gonna shut it out, and I'm gonna say thanks to everybody that came on, and we'll see you in the next session.